Alrighty, g'day, Stu from UAVFutures. Welcome back to our happy flying live stream. If you don't recognize me, it's because I am a year older. So there we go. But first things first, I do want to check the audio, go through all those checks before we jump in, talk about FPV, a whole bunch of stuff coming up, and some kind of not embarrassing situations, but I had a situation that happened yesterday regarding FPV and UAVFutures, which was one of the biggest trips I've ever had in like a decade of doing this. But we've got a heap to talk about. Thank you so much for tuning in. We can see a lot of people saying happy birthday, bit of a birthday party stream, so thank you very much. I do need to just double check the audio. 1 2 1 2 1 2. Let me know, is the sound coming through nice and clear? If you've got any questions as well, throw them down below. This is just going to be a bit of a stream, talking all things FPV. We're going to be talking about some HD0 stuff. We've got some DJI stuff to talk about as well, some new products. I think I think you guys can hear me. Just double check. We'll check who's in the chat as well. Of course, Johnny DRC, he's always in here, week in, week out, I guess. Like, I need to give him like a #1 fan t-shirt or something, get that made up for him. We've got Malice Vex, part of the old UAVFutures crew. Other people saying, happy birthday, Super Deluxe, that hat is too sharp. Don't hurt yourself, Stu. You know what? The secret about this hat, my wife actually made it for me. So a homemade birthday party hat. Very, very cool stuff right there. Big shout out to the lovely lady, Mrs. UAVFutures. People saying, sounds solid. Is there cake? Well, there will be cupcakes. Yo-yo MTV raps. Okay, I don't know what that comment's about, but let me tell you what is coming up in today's special birthday stream. Well, it is the weekly stream. We're here week in, week out, every Monday, the best part of my working week. This is stream number 26. I cannot believe it. What started off as like a 10-week challenge has just become like every Monday. It puts me here in front of the computer. We talk all things FPV, and I absolutely love it. It's a great way to connect with you guys. Even though we make videos that reach like hundreds of thousands of people, this right here, connecting with this core audience, answering your questions, helping people live in real time to get up and get flying, connect with those other pilots. It's one of the most important things I believe I can do in this channel. So what we're going to do, we're going to check in. We're going to talk a little bit about mental health. I want to talk about the Lightning V2. Because these are things coming up on the channel, this bad boy right here. But this is a version I got sent the other day, which is going to be, I think, a big player in a future review that I need to talk about on a different product. We also have a Starship. If you don't know what the Starship is, that is from YMZ. That's a little craft. It has an O3 unit in there, which makes me very excited for what it could do for O4. We need to talk about the O4 units. I know we spoke about it, like trying to find one in stock. If you're in the US, you are so spoiled for choice. In Australia, it is completely sold out. So we're going to be sort of talking about that a little bit because we had a huge donation last week. I think it's from Farmer78, who absolutely smashed that goal to help us get towards an O4 review. So I need to talk about where we're up to in that. We have Express LRS stuff we need to talk about. And especially if you are binding up and having an SPI receiver or an internal UART, which was driving me nuts for a little bit, trying to get some people just set up and flying. We need to talk about HD0. We're going to be talking about latency as well, and especially when it's coming to races and that sort of stuff. I'm going to catch up on these chats as well. And then, yeah, just some very strange shopping experiences, some other DJI O4 stuff, and going through some troubleshooting and helping you guys getting flying. Now, Fly High, happy birthday. Had a killer meetup today. Tested a bunch of pilots together with O4 analog, O3, HD0, and more. Okay, that sounds like I hope you recorded some of that. Big shout out to Fly High FPV, awesome partners of DIY FPV as well. So, you know, double thumbs up. Go check their store out. In terms of actually talking about sponsorships, a huge shout out to Phaser FPV. If you don't know who Phaser FPV is, that is a store here, local store here in Australia, and he has been hooking me up with some coffee from his like side sister business, so Central Coast Coffee. Go check them out. And then Brandon is saying, got the improved Arrowhead mod I see. Oh, okay. Yeah, this is aerodynamic as well. So, and you can also use it to defend yourself. So if you don't know, if you come to Australia, you want to visit, I know people like to joke about the wildlife, but it's no joke. It will kill you. And I know when I go through some of the mangroves and stuff, there's no crocodiles I haven't seen down in the area that I am in, but like snakes are a real concern. So I took my daughter fishing the other day, and I had to carry, like, to get to this like secret spot that we go, you have to go through some sketchy wildlife or nature, and so I was carrying her on my shoulders, and I had like full shoes on, ready, like snake protectors and things. So because yeah, it's no joke. You don't want to get bitten by any of the wildlife, and this protects you from drop bears as well. So if a drop bear is going to fall out of the tree, kind of like a larger koala with sharper teeth, yeah, here's a little bit of drop bear protection. Fly High is saying, I've got O4 Lite and Pro on stock, goggles 03 to goggles 3.2. There we go. He's rubbing it in. Go check him out. That, yeah, Race Day Quads. That's great for all you guys over in the States. We need to get some in Australia. So we'll be talking about that a little bit. I feel like sometimes we miss out when it comes to this. This makes it really hard in terms of review. If you want to start a reviewing YouTube channel, don't pick Australia or New Zealand to do it, because a lot of the times when companies send out products and they say, okay, here's our NDA, if you're lucky enough that a product has one, or when you get this, can you please make a video? You're going to get yours about 10 days later, maybe 15 days later than anybody else. So it takes a long time for the post services to swim over here. Anyway, let's kick it off. Let's start the actual business of the stream. So thanks for tuning in to Happy Flying number 26. The first thing we always talk about is mental health. If you are struggling, I want you to know that FPV is an amazing community. Please don't feel alone. And I've suffered from mental health in the past, and I know it's not specifically FPV related, but please go and talk to somebody. Please find somebody to connect with, or just go and talk to the doctor. For me, it's like if I broke my leg, I'd go to the doctors and talk about like, hey, my leg is broken. If you've broken your brain a little bit, so to speak, please go and talk to somebody because it's not weak to speak. And I'm proud of you. I'm proud that you're here. You make this community better. And I know it can be really tough to do a lot of those things, but I want you to know that you're not alone. I'm here if you need to reach out. Send me a message. Hit me up on Discord. Send me an email. We have an amazing community. Join part of the Discord down below, or DIY FPV. We just have such a supportive place here. And even if you don't want to do it publicly or anything like that, just shoot me an email. If you're in a place then you want to get better and you're feeling like alone or isolated, or you've got nobody to reach out to, man, I will be here, because I've been in those bad places. Thankfully, I'm in a lot better place now, but I don't want anybody else to have to go through that. So if I can use this platform, I know we talk about drones all the time, but if I can use this platform just to change one person's life out there, like that's one of the most important things that I can do. And that's why we talk about this at the start of every stream that we do. So I just want to put that out there, that it's not weak to speak. I'm proud of you, and you are special. Yes, you, the person listening right now, and you can think, oh, is Stu talking to me? You can't be talking to just me. Yes, I am. All right. Chris Croft, he might be a savior right here, because he is coming in with this chat. He's saying, good morning, Stu. I just got the O4 Lite and the goggles 3. Found out the camera cable is too short for the quad. I was going to put it in. All right there, Chris. We might need to do a bit of an emergency re-catch up because he also helped out with the HD0 video, which a lot of people liked. However, trying to get that O4 unit has been a bit of a nightmare. So I'd love to know where you got yours from. Maybe we have to do some little investigating as well. The light is really for micros. Yeah, I think that's where it's at. But also, it's half the price. So I can absolutely see a reason why people are like, I'm going to build a 5-inch and I don't want to put the Pro in there or the full-size unit. I don't really like the names because it's like $100 cheaper if you're in Australia anyway. Someone's saying analytics. I don't know what you mean. He's saying, okay, press the thumbs up button. There we go. Do that. That's my birthday wish. If you see someone in here, say, hey, can you press that thumbs up button? Just a way to say happy birthday, Stu, being the old man that I am. All right. The first thing in FPV news that we're going to talk about today is this bad boy. So where did I put that? This, and I'll see if I can get this on the screen as well. YMZ. Okay, this quad right here. Please don't break computer. Oh, I need to hit, I'm going to press this button to record my stream. I hope it doesn't break. Check. Okay, I think we're good. All right, jumping over here. So this I have done a review on. This is the Lightning, like the V2 or the Lightning 2 from YMZ FPV. A total, just absolute banger. When it comes to flying around drones, this was my #1 choice for 2024, especially when I put digital in there and we were flying around with the Walksnail system. It is the most fun I believe people can have in FPV. It is quiet, it is fast, it is responsive, it's not intrusive. I can fly it around like without really upsetting people. It offers sort of that same 5-inch feeling that you get, but in a much smaller form factor, and it's considerably cheaper as well, especially when you factor in like the price of batteries. Now, look, it's not perfect. Spoiler alert: there is no drone that is perfect, but this one turned up the other day, and I didn't know this because I've only flown the digital versions, but I only just realized when this one turned up that inside here, I thought it was an all-in-one board like the Lightning V1, which had analog built into the flight controller. This right here, I don't need to do any desoldering or anything. All it has, well, on the board directly, all it has is an external VTX, which means this is going to be a perfect platform for, like people are talking about, and this is what I think I am most excited about DJI O4, when this gets mixed up with the DJI O4 air unit or the light air unit. Trying to put that in a little craft like this, I think is going to be, and I have to test this, but that is something I am most excited about. I know people talk about like the full size unit and they're talking about like filming and gyro stabilization. I can't talk properly. Gyro stabilization. Look at this, I've gone senile in my old age. There we go. So don't have any birthdays if you don't want to lose your brain power. Anyway, yeah, cruising this around. I just want to have fun. I want to put some packs in, rip it around, scream it around, have awesome videos stream back to my eyeballs. And I think a little craft like the Lightning V2 is going to be my #1 choice for like what I want to test it with. So this is what's going to be housing, that's the plan anyway, the DJI O4 air unit or the light version. And I cannot wait. I just am absolutely pumped. The only thing I'm a little bit worried about is in the front right here. So camera protection on these is not great. Let me show you. So the camera protection of this, it sticks out just a little bit here. And mounting the light camera, I think DJI have done a really bad job. I'm sure maybe you've got some better ideas. Let me know your thoughts. But the camera mount and the way that it's sort of set up on the O4 light unit for DJI, it looks garbage. Like it is a big complaint. But yeah, so we're going to need to sort of find some solution to get that in. And get this, I never knew this. Maybe I'm sure somebody might have covered it in a review, because I know so there's a lot of positives about DJI O4, and I don't want this to sound like I'm bashing it, but you can't flip the image. Like I only found that out this morning when I sent Mads Tech a question, and I was like, man, you can flip the image, right? Because a lot of the times when I'm building a little craft like this, depending on where the cable connector is in the back and the ribbon cable and that sort of stuff, I don't know what the actual technical name for the cable that plugs into the back of the O4 air unit is, you can't flip it. So that like feels like such an easy software issue to fix it, that I'm extremely surprised that that's not possible. So I don't know, because a lot of times people say, what does it mean? Just flip the camera upside down when you're putting it in? Yeah, a lot of these craft, you don't have the luxury to do that. Like the space is so tight, especially when you're talking about these really small little 2-inch crafts. I feel like that's a bit of an undersight by DJI there. So not only have they missed the boat, I guess, in terms of like having that stupid camera that's in non-standardized mounting patterns, they have also missed it when you can't, I could be wrong, but like you can't flip the image, if someone can confirm that. Won't it need a Beck? So that's from Mike. Nope. That's one of the things I love about this as well. This is a 2S. So that's why it's got some insane speed. You are going to need a Beck if you're flying around on like little 1S whoops and that sort of stuff. But yeah, not this one. So this is going to have more than enough voltage, I think, to be able to handle that. So I could not be more stoked. That's what I'm looking forward to the most, probably when it comes to my O4 air unit testing. Of course, I'll have heaps of other videos on it. I'm going to do a whole bunch of like a bit of a series and go through some of those things. But yeah, that's my number one thing that I'm excited for. And also, huge shout out to Farmer, because he wants to know, like, in terms of wearing glasses, the O3 air unit versus the O4, and the old goggles 2 versus the goggles N3. These bad boys right here. So yeah, I've got a whole bunch of videos lined up, but I cannot get them because the O4 air units just in stock are not in stock, I should say. Like, check this out. This is so he's just buying from DJI directly, which was no, that's not going to happen. We looked at this as soon as we hit that stream goal last week to go and buy one, and then I was like, oh, okay, phaser. Trying to get some there. Nope, that's not going to happen. This is another Australian site going over to FPV Faster. Everything's sold out. So in Australia, getting O4 air units is very, very tricky at the moment. I have reached out to some suppliers though, and these are my options, and I probably need to talk to Farmer about this and let me know what you guys think. We can either order from overseas, and you're probably going between 10 to 20 days of shipping time, or do I wait 5 days, and then I think it's 5 days from what I can tell, and then order from like Phaser, and then we might get it in like 10 days, 8 days. I'm not too sure. So I sort of probably need to check with Farmer right there, seeing he was the main top contributor. But that's why we don't have it at the moment, because there's literally none in the country, and I don't know, otherwise we order from overseas. The other part though too, sometimes that wait is not terrible, because Stickman Steve, he is away at work at the moment, so I want to make the best videos that I can. I really value his opinion, and I think you guys do as well. So waiting till he's back. Also, he should be back in like 10 days, ready to start filming. I don't want to put him on the clock there, Stickman Steve, if you are watching this, but yeah, we should be able to get his input as well. So even if it did turn up tomorrow, I don't think I'd release a video on it without his input. All right. Someone saying MR or Mr. is saying printed TPU cover for the lens. Yes, absolutely. That is one of the critical downfalls of this. But the next thing, let's check this out. We have is, I'm just catching up on the chat. Timothy is saying it's extremely hard to find a micro drone in stock in the US. Do you mean like one with the O4 air unit in there? I don't know. So the mini cable out the top of the cam is odd. Yeah, I don't know why DJI did that. Probably because they just, not that they don't care, but I don't know. Put it this way, if you make a really good product, you bring it to market, you sort of have two fields. You can either play in and work with everybody else so more people adopt yours, or you make something so good that makes people want to switch, and then you lock them into that ecosystem. So then maybe people start making frames that are just made for O4 air units, and then they'll be like, oh, okay. And if you've got those frames, you're less likely to buy the competition's ones, or the things that are going to work with that. Kind of like what Apple does, where you can get some cool Apple products, but you've got to be in their ecosystem. And then once you're in, it's much harder to switch over to those other services. So I don't know. I feel like DJI and Apple are pretty similar in a lot of the same ways. Chris is saying, I just sent you an email where I got my light from. Okay, is it in stock? That's what I need to know about. Play dominoes with the family, but hi. All right, that's good. Some nice family fun. Okay, this turned up as well. Moving on, this is a bit of a preview of the Starship. So again, this is from YMZ FPV, and check this bad boy out. So this looks like a bit of a weapon, actually. So we have this for review that's coming up. I believe it's similar. I think it's called the Eagle. Let me have a search here. So it's called the Starship, but I think it was similarly based on the Eagle, if you look at the frame that's sort of underneath it. But this we've only got one. I need to actually probably integrate this into DIY FPV, like the actual YMZ store. However, I think this is what makes me excited too. This I don't think this is going to be a bad craft. It feels a little bit heavy. I've flown some around in the past that are like this, and this used to be the only option that we had if you wanted to fly an O3 around. So you might be like, hey, I really love FPV. I really want a small little form factor. It's got some prop guards on here. Something like this is going to go a long way with the O3 Air unit. Though now we have the 4, this is putting it in a really tough place because we can build a lot lighter craft, a lot smaller craft, and something that I am a bit on the fence with is these big carbon fiber plates we've got around the outside, or the prop guards. They're not going to be very forgiving. One of the things I like about not ducted, but like prop guarded quads is that it like is safe for the drone, but also safe for like if you're flying around a car or you're flying around a window or a TV or an art museum. I don't know where you guys are doing your FPV videos, but this, it feels just as dangerous of having the props there. I don't know what you guys think. I think the flight performance is going to be fine. I've flown them in the past before, like very similar craft, but it's going to have a little bit of extra weight. Time will tell. So we've got this coming up as well. So expect a review of this on the channel sometime in the next couple of days, or I guess in the next little while. I'm pretty excited, but I think we're going to see a dramatic shift when people start running out of O3 Air units. I don't even know if they make them anymore. We start moving to O4, and that's one of the things I'm probably the most excited about as well when it comes to the new Air units coming out. Just that smaller size. I know I keep talking about it, but it's a big deal. People can talk about, like, I guess this is where I'm going to be, call me out of touch. Let me know if this is wrong in the chat. If you're listening to this and you say, Stuart, that is completely ridiculous, you're thinking the wrong way about that. Getting the latest camera is amazing, right? DJI, yeah, good job. They've got some better latency. They've got a sharper picture. They've got some gyro stabilization. I can't say that word today, stabilization. But if you are flying, what do I want? I want fun. How do I have that? Just an easy light craft that gets good performance. Like, I don't need 4K or any of that sort of stuff to have a good time. Maybe it's because I started as an analog pilot, but look, that could just be me. But that is the most important thing that DJI can do. And I think that's what the O4 Lite is going to bring. Yeah, it's not going to be as good as like the larger unit and all that sort of stuff, but it's cheap. It's going to be good enough, and like it's right at that value sweet spot for me, which I think is important for 80% of the pilots out there. Like, I know some people might be super cashed up, and if you can afford the latest and greatest, and that's great for you. I feel like I'm just thinking of an everyday person on a normal average wage trying to make their money go the furthest, get the most out of this hobby, and that's where I'm real excited. Like, just that little form factor, ripping around, throwing in something like this, having an awesome time. Doesn't mean they're perfect, doesn't mean I'm not grateful for what the full-size units can offer and all that sort of stuff. It's just it's going to be, what I'm saying, I guess in a long roundabout way, a dramatic shift. You're going to see very rapidly a change in frame design. So we're not going to see any more chunky. There is no reason now in 2025 to have a large chunky frame that is like a 2-inch or anything like that, because we don't need this large size air unit in here. When you don't have that, the whole frame can be stripped down. Then you can put lighter motors on here. It's like it was a huge limitation in the past, and I cannot wait. I'm absolutely stoked to see what that's going to mean in the future for us. All right. Chris is saying it was in stock as of Saturday. Tyler saying happy birthday. I'm just starting to get into drones, and I've been watching tons of your videos. Man, thank you for tuning in. It's great to have you here. We do this week in, week out. Spaceman is saying, yo, Stu, I'm building a website for my brand. What type of API would I need to interface with DIY FPV? I'm only going to have 5 or 6 products though. So here's a beauty. DIY FPV, if you don't know what it is, well, you're not living under a rock, but I talk about it week in, week out. This is a website I am building for everybody, but check this out. Go over here. I really like we've got a catalog, so you're talking about getting your products in here, and I really like the map feature as well in terms of getting people flying. This thing has exploded, but if you know someone with a store, or you would like to integrate and be part of the store, what you need to do, look at this, we've only got 3 people in America. Oh, sorry. what you need to do is email me, or you can email, I think it's info@DIYFPV.com. I believe. I'm going to have to double check that. But anyway, email me at UAVFutures, but essentially an API to get your products in here so you can find out exactly what you're searching for. We can get your store in here. We have a lot of solutions. So whether you're using Shopify, Magento, we're going through a bit of technical stuff here, or like a custom API feed, essentially what we need is a way to see what your products are, see what your price is, see if it's in stock, out of stock, and a product description. Some way that our website can interface and get that data and then display it in here. So anyway, that's, if you have a store and you see this little snippet, that's what we need. So every single store that you see in here has gone through that process. Like, we can see their database and see their products and see their prices, and that's why we can provide like such a pretty kick-ass website, if I don't say so myself. Like, look, just we clicked on this randomly. Look how good this is. Like the Boxer Crush radio. We have 14 stores with different prices and stock levels and variations on where to get this thing from around the world. So we are building something pretty amazing. I need to come up with a slogan, which is like, because this is designed to save you pilots money to find the best deals. It's completely free to use. I need a slogan, which is like, I don't know, before you buy, DIY. If you can think of a better one, let me know in the chat as well. But yeah, kids saying happy birthday. Dave S, I'm having an O4. I have an O4. I'm building it into a Whoop, but I'm still excited to put the O3 on my 5-inch. Now it's 5-inch. It's analog now. All right. I'm really pumped for you, Dave. Something to think about though. Do you have a little Beck that is like powering that? Because I believe the shutoff, where when it stops working, is like 3.7 volts on the DJI O4 air unit, and a Whoop is going to get down to that voltage pretty quickly, so you're going to need a Beck to power that. I think, and I can't really get a clear answer on this from people I've been asking, but I think Whoops are going to suffer considerably in their flight times. I could be totally wrong. I'd love to be wrong. But that digital and that video is coming at a price. I'd love to see someone flying around with like an analog flight, or even just a hover, right? You can hover till it dies, and then which on analog, and then hover till it dies on the O4. I feel like that's a great video. That's something I should do. There we go. Thanks, guys. Thanks for the inspiration. If you want to see that, let me know. Like, what does it actually cost? A percentage of my flight time switching over to DJI. If you see someone else take that video idea, well, then just say, hey, you stole that from me, but give them a thumbs up. Analog is fine. I enjoy it. Spaceman is saying, analog is king for 5 reasons. It's cheapest, has lots of variety, can be built into stuff. The breakup is easy to cover from, and it feels locked in. Yeah, I don't know if it's king though. Like there's a reason a lot of people like flying digital. Like, what are you guys flying? If you're watching this, let me know. The non-ducted one looks awesome. So that's this. I actually have a video on my channel of the non-ducted. Is it the Eagle? Bear with me. He's talking about this quad. Okay, so that is this on the screen. Are they the same motors though? Because maybe some things have changed. Oh, that's a nice thumbnail right there. Motors, 1204s 5000, 1303s 6000. Okay, we have a higher kV motor and a bigger motor as well, so maybe this will be different. Maybe we'll get some like different flight characteristics. Okay. Where is Stickman Steve? We know he's a star. He's at work, so we're gonna have to wait till he gets back. Dave S is saying, I just got back into the hobby. I just got back into the RC hobby 6 months ago, and so much has changed. Not really, man. Like the only difference I'm gonna say from now to 6 months ago is that we have a cheaper DJI option to get around and do digital. If that doesn't mean anything to you, you can still have an amazing time. If DJI never came along, you're still going to have exactly the same amount of fun as if they existed or not. If you've got walk snail gear, it's not making your walk snail gear obsolete at all. You can still fly around. It doesn't stop any of your gear from currently working. That is the only difference, the only thing that's really changed in 6 months. In terms of like day-to-day flying, yes, we've got some updated things like Gemini protocols and ELRS and doing all that sort of biz, but yeah, I think it has never been a better time to get in, enjoy FPV, and especially with some of the things that I am planning for 2025 without doing too many announcements, like not just UAVFutures, but with DIY FPV. I am really working hard to build something for you guys, which is like next level, not even just a builder, but like to take it even further, to do some things that no one has done before and offer some things that is like, people would say it's insane if they didn't realize how much we love drones. Like I don't want to give any spoilers away or anything like that, but you know, people would say developing Betaflight for free and letting people use it is crazy, like that open source kind of thing. Like why would they do that? It's because they love drones, and we've got some things coming for you guys specifically, which no one else is doing. No one else can, well, maybe they can offer, but I don't see any other reason why anyone else would do it unless they're absolute drone enthusiasts that just completely, like, it's super exciting. Anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. Okay. But the hobby hasn't changed. Johnny DRC is saying, switching my analog over to walk snail. Yes, Johnny DRC, great choice. You're gonna love it. I know you've got the RX unit with your Sky Zones, which is great. Nick is saying, hey, I really love your videos and your channel. I'm a big fan. Looking at a digital whoop setup. But should I wait because of the new DJI O4 Air? Why am I struggling to speak today? Or should I wait? What would you recommend I buy? Now, my recommendation here is, and everybody needs to be more patient in the world, but my recommendation is to wait just a little bit. Why? Because I have feelings like on where you and what you should move towards, but I cannot offer my informed opinion until I've actually flown the O4 Air unit. So until I do my testing, I'm really looking at, I think it looks great if you are coming in today to buy a system, the N3 goggles with like the O4 Lite, if you can get one in stock, it looks amazing. It's only slightly more expensive than, say, this system right here, which is the Cadex, which is the Walk Snail Avatar system. This was great. Like in 2024, when this came out 6-7 months ago, awesome. I loved this. I'm still having a blast with it. It's probably, you'll see it in a lot of my videos, even over the Goggles X's. I love the range that I can get with these as well. I feel really, really confident flying these things around. It's easy to transport. It's easy to pack down. Maybe for a whoop, yes. If you're going to be flying on a really little board as well. But my advice is, it is looking like the N3s might be an amazing choice. Just, if you want my recommendation though, you just got to wait a little while until I can get my hands on one of those units, until I can test it. Like, it'd be really easy for me to say, go and do this, these videos look good, and just make up some, I don't know, opinions on it. But it's really important for me to let people know that, hey, this is like my testings, my findings, my experience with the product. And I believe that's why people sort of tune in as well, to find out how I actually went with it. What was it like? And also, what was it like when Stickman Steve flew it around? Because we've got very different tastes when it comes to things we like on our radios, things we like on our drones, the sort of flying that we do. Like the GX12 is a perfect example. His giant hands, he didn't like it as a pincher. I love it as a thumber. So we're going to get that video out for you. Brandon is saying, save your dollars for N3 and O4. That's at Johnny DRC, but he's already got the Walk Snail. He's just slowly upgrading his fleet there, Brandon. Happy birthday, mate. That's from Quad Snatch FPV Squatch. The new DJI Goggles 3 have OLEDs. Not these bad boys though. That is one limitation. Like, this is locked at 60 frames. in the N3. Bob8, thank you very much for the super chat, you legend. I'm going to give that a little, can I click on that for a love heart? And he is saying, oh, well, that's a very strange YouTube handle there, but Bob87654556 is saying, hey man, I've been watching you on and off for years now, and I'm happy to announce I finally bought my first drone off your recommendations. You've been a huge help getting me into this hobby. Thank you for everything, man. It is absolutely my pleasure. Like, thank you for that super chat. That's very, very kind of you. I truly do appreciate it. You're a legend. But it is my pleasure. I'm so pumped about getting another pilot flying, getting somebody in the air, exploring, just cruising around, having a good time. Like, that is what I'm passionate about. I couldn't do UAVFutures without that. Just people would say like obsession. I don't know. Or like my wife would be like, man, can you just stop talking about drones a little bit? But like, I truly love this hobby. It is life changing. And even just talking about it, I can feel myself perking up. Getting another person in the hobby flying, it is my pleasure, my friends. So let me know what quad you got. So what are you actually flying around with? I would love to know. I'd love to see your setup. And if you want, you can do a post on DIY FPV so we can check it out as well. If we could all head over there later and check it out. Someone, Quad Snatcher, saying, same, been watching for a long time, got me hooked. Yeah, I feel like I have tried my hardest to share the love of FPV with as many people in the world as I can. And a lot of people don't know this, but I had never done a single thing RC in my life until I was like 28 or something. Like, I might have had one little toy controller that someone had for, I never had anything as a kid growing up anyway. I never flew any remote control stuff with my dad. I didn't even have any friends who did RC stuff. I did have some friends, thank goodness. But yeah, so anyway, I discovered this and it was like life changing. I loved it. I was hooked straight away. I was so keen. I would sometimes see people flying out in the park and I would go up and I'd be asking them like hundreds of questions once I first bought my Tyrannus and my first drone. And I swear a lot of those people would look at me like, oh gosh, what is this random bloke in the park asking me about this drone and this radio? Like, why can you just stop asking me 100 questions? But yeah, I've loved it from the day that I got in here, and I've been really blessed to have amazing people like yourself, like you guys watching, to support the channel. So and I think that's a big part of the success of it as well, because I'm just an everyday person who likes flying around and likes these crazy flying little robots with cameras on them, and just a cool way to explore, and they do change our life. So anyway, thank you for that super chat. Me and Brandon live in the same town. Stu. Oh, okay. Is he one of your mates there, Johnny DRC? Eric is saying, just signed up to DIY FPV, the website. It's a cool website, man. Yeah, it's still in early access. This is what people don't understand. What you see on DIY FPV versus what we have planned, and not only planned, what is like already under development. It's not just announcing and saying, oh, we're going to do this one. Like, this stuff is already in the works, in the background, getting updates and everything, so we can make something truly amazing for you. For you guys. Careful is saying, happy birthday, hello from Colorado. Been using the Cinelog 35, the green performance one. And Spaceman is saying, also Stu, my local club is hosting a 64 pilot event in 1.5 months. When will the events portion of the map be up? Well, we got to work on that with the calendar. We have so many things we're working on when it comes to DIY FPV that we really need to streamline and focus down. Like, instead of being the sun and just coding everything in a little bit of sunlight, we need to like put a magnifying glass on that and focus our resources on one thing at a time. That's how we look at like how to build DIY FPV, because it's just us, it's just me and Tom's building this website. It doesn't make an income or anything like that. It is truly a passion project to make the best website we can for you guys. Recently, actually, we just updated. We are listening to you guys. Maybe some people don't know this, but over on the dashboard, we recently just put in, you can now add some little tags here. So people are like, hey, I want to find this category or something. So you're going to be able to search by that. And we're also putting in a little search bar, which you should be able to see. in like the next week, maybe, and also some categories as well. So these discussions here are going to get streamlined and be a lot easier to sort and find out exactly what you're talking about, whether they be like flight videos, whether they be latest product releasing, whether it be something about racing or 3D printing. You're going to have those options to sort that. That's coming soon as well. Okay, everybody should get on the DIY FPV map. Yeah, it's kind of crazy seeing how many users we've got on there. Okay, let me just catch up on chat before I tell you one of the most trippy FPV experiences I think I'm ever going to have in my entire FPV, like up to now in 10 years, and I don't think it's ever going to happen quite the same way in 10 years, because yesterday I had an experience where I was like, I was even a little bit shocked, a little bit of a drone experience here, which I don't know. It might even be like a one-off in the world. Ruin is saying, made it to the birthday stream. Happy birthday, DIY FPV. Hype. Someone's saying site needs a dark mode. I think we actually have some Figma screens of dark mode. So yes, that's underway as well. I know people have been talking about the app. Here's a little bit of a secret snippet. If you are going to build an app, Apple needs the app to do something that the website doesn't do, that isn't just a Safari browser. So if you have an idea of like what needs to be an app only feature of DIY FPV to make it into an app, because we want people to be able to use it if they want to, that's not just saving it on the home screen, let me know, because that's kind of the kicker, that if you want it to be made into an app, Apple will knock it back if it's just the same as a website, if it's not doing anything too different. Someone's saying really like the hat. Yeah, that's a bit of a birthday stream. Okay, get this stream right. Get this situation right. So yesterday, here is the strangest FPV experience I've ever had in my life. I was with my family. We were going to buy like some kids' school shoes and that sort of stuff, because the kids, even the youngest one is going to be going to school full time next year. I'm walking through the shops, and I hope the person listening, if they ever see this video, doesn't get embarrassed, because I was like, it was awesome. It was a great experience, but it was really, really trippy. I'm walking through the shops. My wife had gone into some clothes shop, and I was like, I don't want to do that. I'm going to take the kids to, we have a shop here called Kmart. I was actually going to be like, I'm going to find a popcorn machine, because that's like a fun, healthy snack that we can make. That turns out there wasn't any. Anyway, as I'm walking there, I saw this bloke sitting down, and he's like in the middle of the shopping center. He's looking at his phone, and I thought to myself, this is exactly what I would do if I had to wait and I didn't have the kids here. I would just get on my phone while my wife is shopping, just to pass the time, because I don't want to look at clothes or whatever else she was going to do, right? So I was like, I'd do what this bloke, he's probably waiting for somebody, just waiting on his phone. As I walk past and look at his phone, I see like some big red text on his phone, and I thought, oh, that's the same font that I use. And then I looked a little bit closer, and I was like, that looks like my thumbnail. And then as I'm walking and I look even closer, it's my face and I'm talking. So this guy, this random person in the shopping center, is watching a UAVFutures video as I'm walking past him. And then I was like, and he looked up and looked at me with a, I don't know, like almost like a, not blank look on his face, but like scratching head. Like it was a weird merge of virtual reality screen and real life. And I looked at him and I said, that's a good video. You should watch that. That's my video. He goes, yep. And then he gave me a thumbs up. And I said, you should watch that video. It's a good one. I gave him a thumbs up. And then I just kept walking, because even I was kind of speechless, just to walk past each other and be like, it's a good video. Yep. Okay. Just parted ways. It was the most bizarre thing, and I can't even imagine what that must be like if I was watching somebody. Well, I'd never spoken to this bloke before. I've never seen him in my life. He didn't do anything embarrassing. He was like just a normal dude watching a video. I could just imagine if I was in his shoes. Imagine watching some video, and then I look up and the person is looking directly at me and being like, "Oh, that's a good video. You should watch that." Like I'd be, what? okay. I don't know. I don't even know what the right response is there. So anyway, it was like the biggest mental trip that I have ever experienced in this hobby. So I don't know. I had a bit of a chuckle to it, explaining the situation to my wife when we got back to the car, and we didn't find the popcorn machine. So it turns out it didn't sell one. So anyway, that was one of the most strange experiences I've ever had when it comes to FPV. Okay. Chris is saying from time to time there's a text on the screen saying something about a viewfinder. Yeah, that's because we are using a Canon M50. I think that's the name of this one. It is not a true HD recording camera. So that's why that's there. It just lets me know that is without flashing some firmware on there, some like custom firmware, which I really don't want to do. I'm all for flashing my drones with custom firmware and other things, but in terms of like an actual camera, I don't want to do it because this is like my bread and butter. This is my main like studio camera. This is this one that I'm using. I don't want it to brick or break or anything like that. Jake is saying, Stu, is that the independent trucks shirt that you put on a skateboard? Because I love those skateboard trucks. Yeah, it is actually. This was a like I've had this shirt for a while now. However, long story short, like back in 2001, I used to enjoy some skateboarding, and I did have an independent like whole deck and some trucks. Kmart, wow, those are gone around here. Too funny. People enjoying that little story right there. Sounds like a weird dream. Yeah, but it wasn't. It was like real life. I love Australia because I love Stu. And when he goes live, I go kangaroo. Much love from Michigan. I bet you it's probably freezing over there. And Scott, before I do want to talk about some HD0 stuff, we're going to talk about some drone stuff as well, some ELRS things. I just noticed the time. I probably need to do less rambling, less fun with you guys, more drone stuff. Well, topics that I wanted to cover anyway. And Scott is saying, happy birthday, Stu. On the O4 Lite, do a range test with stock antennas, then do one with the Pro antenna on the O4 Lite. If you can get more range on the Pro antenna, maybe it's a valuable swap. Maybe. It depends on like the range though. For me, in my everyday type of flying, it's really hard to do range tests that aren't like, if I can fly around on the farm that's out there and get out over the water and cruise back, chances are 9 times out of 10, 99 times out of 100, I'm never going to go much further than that. So I don't know, but it is a valid test. I just think the market of people who are going to get that extreme range is going to be limited. It might be better for like a penetration test though. Do you get better reception flying through some sketchy areas or thicker trees or like some abandoned buildings? I think that's going to be much more valuable data. So maybe we'll be able to do that one. Phonic is sent through a little super chat. I'm guessing it's your birthday. Here's a super chat. Thanks for grinding every week. It is absolutely my pleasure, my friend. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for that super chat. It is greatly appreciated. And my wife actually made me this. Protects me from drop bears. If you don't know what they are, don't search them up. Everything in Australia is some dangerous wildlife. No way I'm putting a heavy antenna on my O4 builds. I don't know if it's like that much more heavy. It depends, probably depends what sort of craft we're talking about as well. All right, we should talk about this the other day. I recently, where did I put this? I didn't know this, but this might save somebody out there. So I got an email and then I started talking to this bloke on DJI FPV, sent some messages back and forth to try and help him get flying. And if you have a Mobula, I thought I was going crazy because we were dealing with a Mobula HD. So it means it doesn't have the VTX inbuilt, and I no longer have the HD versions. And I'm trying to get this person, get their drone bound to their radio. Now, a lot of people and a lot of videos that you watch, I learned something. And I feel like that could have been part of it. I didn't actually learn it from Bardwell, but like I definitely learned something that day, where if you are trying to bind up your Mobula 8 and it's the HD version and you are struggling, did you know that even though it's an all-in-one board, it's not actually an SPI receiver? So when you go to connect it, in my mind, I just pictured normally, like you've got your little board here, which has an inbuilt receiver, which means it is usually connected and like talking to each other. It's everything sort of all in one. And that's, you just click that little bind button, it puts it into bind mode, talks to the quad, you can bind up your radio. That is not the case with the Mobula HD. What it actually is, it's like you have one board, but it has a completely separate like receiver built into it, which is connected but not connected. Like it's powered and everything, but it is not part of like it's not an SPI receiver. It's like its own entire UART, which is essentially like taking your normal flight controller, taking an external receiver, just cramming it in there on the side and just forcing it into the board, not with like an SPI integration or anything like that. So it's got its own entire UART in there. And then when you go to bind it, it's totally different. You got to go into the ports tab and you got to enable like serial RX and choose your serial provider and all that sort of stuff. So I didn't know that. It took a long time. And I don't know if that is common knowledge because a lot of people still bind up their drones and their radios, and a lot of them trying to do all this research because I didn't have one to test. A lot of people were like, hey, my SPI receiver, it's not working. Other people saying just click this button. That's definitely the case when it comes to this one. But yeah, some others out there, it was a bit of a nightmare to troubleshoot that. So if you are trying to bind up your Mobula O3 HD, we were talking about the DJI version. The way we did it, because plugging it in and out was not working, the way we did it was turning the drone on, getting the phone up, and being able to connect via Wi-Fi to set the bind phrase manually, and then doing the same. I think we're using a Boxer radio there. So yeah, that was interesting to say the least. Do you know anybody that had put a fuel cell on their drones? That's from Jake. No, I feel like it's just it's got diminishing returns. There. I know there are some drones, larger drones out there that are like, I don't know if it's not like petrol power, but it runs like a small generator then to power the motors, I think, but they're like much larger. It's if it was a good idea, lots of people would do it. So anyway, it's not what we do in this hobby. I don't think I've ever seen anyone do an FPV drone like that. Anyway, got to research that FC when you have issues like that. Yeah, it was like, I think we got up to like 70 emails before I was like, just message me on DJI FPV. We can solve some of that. All new IOO should have serial receivers and not SPI. Okay, and it was also a pain too to update them. It's just a little bit of confusing times. I quite like an SPI receiver, just having on a little Mobula, just having a button that I can press and it binds right up. I've got no problem with that. Can't wait for this is from Quad Squat. I don't know how to pronounce that, FPV. And if you've got any questions too, before we jump out, throw them in the comments down below. I am just looking at the time because I have a heap of work to do today because my wife starts a new job tomorrow and she's a teacher as well, poor thing. But that came up like not unexpectedly, but like, oh, okay, well, yeah, all right, I'll take that contract. And that means that I've got this entire week coming up with both our kids who are not in school till the week later. So I have to do a lot of work today because I'm going to be very, very busy in the next 5 days until they're at school, she's at work, and then I can just get back to doing like a normal schedule programming. All right. So if you've got some questions, throw them down below. I'm just looking at the time because, yeah, after this, I have to go downstairs, start filming in the studio, all that sort of stuff, working on some videos. Can't wait for my HD Zero with Speedy B to get here, switching over from the Dominator HD and Fat Shark Scouts so I don't have to carry 2 sets of goggles anymore. I don't know what the Scouts are like in this day and age. It's definitely an old setup, but yeah, I think you're going to have an awesome time. Do you have a video for binding the Mobula 8? Probably what I just went through right there. You could probably clip this part of the stream and do that. And Joe C20 saying, I said it already, but I'm looking forward to more coverage on the Open IPC developments. I did have, speaking of Open IPC, I did have an email from one of the devs. I'm going to get that up and running as It's just all a matter. Like it's in the works. There is some open IPC stuff in the works. It's going to be the Emacs. And Chris is saying, what were you going to talk about regarding HD0? So this is where I was going to talk about like latency. Doesn't really matter. And thank you for reminding me that. So with the DJI O4 Air unit out, a lot of people talking about like race mode and latency and what does that mean? If you're a racing pilot, is it really worth it? What's the switch going to be like? How is this going to affect racing going forwards? Should I stick with my HD0? Does it make HD0 obsolete? So to answer some of those questions, the first and foremost thing is like, if it comes to racing, HD0, like when it, with the latency and everything like that, I don't think is under any threat in terms of what the DJI O4s are going to bring to the table. The best thing about DJI O4 in my limited, I guess, research without actually testing it is their ability to like share and actually control the channels and what they're doing now when you put it into race mode. And I think DJI is going to have to integrate into the HD0 ecosystem and the analog ecosystem. Why? Because even with their race mode, it's never going to be as good as HD0. So I know a lot of people are saying, I'm going to get the O4 Lite unit and then I can go to races. Yes, you can. But the big thing about some of those racing people, those lunatics who are all about speed and performance and that latency is a big deal to them. They don't care about the gorgeous picture. They don't care about like, I don't know, going for miles and miles and miles and like long range and gyro stabilization or anything like that, that sort of stuff. They want performance for like 90 seconds or 2 minutes, getting their laps in or getting the fastest lap times or being the first one across the finish line. That is all they care about. And HD0 is always going at its current setup and the way that it works is always going to be unmatched with any other system on the market. Some others might be close and might be a good mix. And I guess there is definitely a market for that. If you're looking at this and, hey, I would like to fly around and maybe go to some races, sure. Well, then you can weigh that up. Like what's worth more, the latency or the nice juicy video that I'm going to get from my DJI system. But if you are just races, and this is where HD0 has done a really, really good job, the latency is unbeatable at this stage. So yeah, that was my little HD0 thing I had in the thumbnail or the title as well. Looking at all the research and all people's findings, I think HD0 is still miles ahead of anything else. And I actually, even on Mad Tech's stream this morning, he was putting some latency numbers up, and he was sort of talking about the same thing as well. I think he actually said country mile, which might be a saying over there. I was wondering, what is the best setup for the least amount of money to get the best range? Which goggles and tiny whoop combo would you recommend for the best range at the lowest cost? So this is from Nick Walter. I'll answer a couple more questions before we wrap up the stream. So if you've got them, throw them in the chat right now. You're asking a very strange question there, Nick, in terms of long range and whoops are not really something that people like to do. Like, are you going to be doing some guerrilla whooping outside? Or I'm not too sure. If you want to get the longest range, my recommendation is to get a whoop and to probably, if you were really serious about it, just put on a really small, like full-size receiver, not a ceramic receiver, but you can get some absolutely tiny little like RP1 receivers. Yes, it will add a couple of extra grams, but if you put it on a really light whoop, I think like there might be like 4 grams or something. That is a significant addition of weight to a whoop. But if you are really concerned about range, excuse me, nothing is going to beat an external receiver. So like with a proper antenna, not a little ceramic antenna. So that'd be my recommendation. Generally though, whoops don't go well with long range versus relative to all other craft out there. Chris is saying HD0 will still be preferred for racing. The biggest single issue is getting video out for the race director. Okay, that's probably a good little point you've got there, Chris. And Josh is saying, in the future, if you do cover open IPC, can you do a glass-to-glass comparison with other systems by taking pictures of a timer with the feed of the drone also pointed at the timer? Maybe. Here's my thing about latency, right? Unless you're a racer, no one cares, but it's not a big deal. I will argue with some people. I will definitely upset some people here. Latency, like I've gone from like a walk snail LCD system like this to HD 0, like 90 hertz camera, putting them side by side, pack to pack to pack, yes, I can tell the difference. But then like by the second pack that I go back to this, does it feel that alien or uncomfortable for my flying? No. Am I probably around like the 80% of pilot skill levels? Yeah, I would have a rough guess. There's definitely a lot more skilled pilots out there. It might make a difference to them. I've been flying for 10 years. Definitely not the slowest pilot in the world. Let's say I'm going to randomly guess here that it's saying I'm as good as 80% of the pilots out there. 20% are probably going to be better. Most of that 80% is still going to be totally fine no matter what system you choose, whether that be walk snail avatar, whether that be DJI, whether that be HD0, whether you be flying around on analog, whether you be flying around with IPC. Don't let the latency numbers get into your mind about what is the right system for you unless you are a racer. Otherwise, I would put them like so far down on the totem pole. There's much, much more important things to take care of before you start to worry about latency. Nick is saying I meant best for video range. I'll be flying in a huge building with lots of very thick concrete walls. Well, you probably want something on a Whoop that can go up to like 200 milliwatts. So make sure you're not just stuck on 25. That's going to be my best recommendation for a Whoop. I did recently do one on the Nimble, which was this craft right here, actually. Let me see if I can find, where is, hang on. I'll post this in the chat. Where is my videos? Yeah, this would be my recommendation then, actually, which is, okay, and where are we? This was great. I got a really good video from this one, and it can.
Okay.
Let me ask you. So this little thing here, the Nimble, there should be a picture on the screen. Here I was comparing it to like the Hummingbird, this one here. Yeah, the Nimble, would be my choice for some good penetration flying around through buildings and all that sort of stuff. Otherwise you're probably going to want to step it up to like a digital system. Maybe then you've got to go 2S to get some okay flight times. This one here, plenty of pop. It felt really good. It is probably what I would take to a Whoop race. Why? Because it's not as fast as the Hummingbird you can see here on the left, but this was, in my opinion, more stable, much nicer camera. It can go up to 200 milliwatts, even though on the screen on the OSD it said 200. And don't worry what they've got here. This is I'm crossing this out because they said VTX, but they're actually talking about the camera right here because the VTX is inbuilt to the board. But yeah, that would be my recommendation. Let me post this video in the chat. So there you go. That's my recommendation if you want to fly around, like in terms of getting some good video signal in some sketchy places. But there's no perfect Whoop. Like if you're flying around long range through thick concrete, that's probably any quad is going to struggle. The best advice, there's only two real ways to do that, is to increase your power output, which you can do on that Whoop, or you need to have some directional antennas and like have as much gain as you can in the direction that you are flying. So really work on your antennas as well. Antennas on your goggles, not so much on the Whoop. Other people are saying also the Air 65. All right. That was also mentioned in that video that I linked, but I basically mentioned it saying I need to test that because other people do bring that up quite a bit. All right. And lastly, I'll be testing DJI at our race events once I get my quad set up and with other things and see how it behaves. That might be pretty cool. Chris, just shoot me an email when that's going to happen. O4 Lite can do 700 milliwatts, HD0 200 milliwatts, and walk snail up to 500 if I recall correctly. I don't know what you mean. Are you talking about in terms of power levels. Like some of the walk snail quads can go up to like 3 watts. So they're pretty powerful. All right. I think that was, oh, actually, also too, if you have some questions that if you get stumped watching this, I'm going to answer this today. If I jump over here, because I was like, oh, this can also be, if you have a question you'd like me to answer, sometimes a pitch is worth 1,000 words and a video is worth like, what, 1,000 pictures. So we have right here, if you go to DIY FPV under the little troubleshooting part, if you want to put some questions in here for me to answer, I will be able to come here, maybe respond to them on my video, and then I can just relink this stream, which will make it much easier for me to talk about. But also other people will be able to help you as well. You never know, you might help somebody out. So right here, I was looking at this one this morning. Why craft not respond to bind Radio Master Pocket throttle? So I think what they're saying is I have a small problem with my Radio Master Pocket and my Nano Baby 2 or 20, I'm not too sure what that's meant to be. All seems to be configured correctly. During testing, it all works fine. Now when I try it on Meadow, I think like, does he mean a field? Craft successfully disarm, and after I raise the throttle and then the craft, this must be like Google translated, and the craft not responding to throttle. I simply must arm the craft. It is unflyable. Does anybody know what could cause the problem? And then he's talking about has ELRS in his output power. So my first thing, and luckily as a teacher, I can decode what this person I believe is trying to say. And look, it'd be really easy to say, oh, that English is written terrible. But maybe if you're coming from another language, I'm more than happy to help you. And guess what? I only know one language. So this person already knows more than me if this is their second language. So I definitely don't want to rag on that. I want to say thanks for putting your question in. My recommendation would be when you plug your drone into your computer, you're saying that it's bound correctly. That's what you need to check. Go over to the receiver tab. You should be able to make sure all the bars and sliders are going the correct way. You should be able to have your mode switches and your arm switch set up in your modes tab as well. The most important thing you're talking about now, craft successfully disarm. Well, that must mean it is arming. So it should be arming in the first place, and I raise the throttle, then nothing. So it's not responding to the throttle. The first thing you need to check, is that actually happening on Betaflight? You say it's all connected, but there is a difference between I'm getting telemetry and I am bound to my craft is set up ready to deal with the information and understand the information that comes from my radio to the drone, to the flight controller to make it do what I want to do. So over on your receiver tab, you'd head over there, make sure when you move the throttle on your radio, do you actually get that corresponding bar moving on your drone? Now, if that is the case, and you have a look, go over to your arm switch, make sure when you flip your arm switch, you are getting the same bar moving in terms of your auxiliary channels, whether that be aux1, aux2, aux3. Make sure that is designated as your arm switch. So then when you take it out to the field or the meadow, I think that's what you're saying here. And then finally, if you're saying the craft is not responding, make sure that the arm angle is set correctly. You can also set it to 180 or make sure that the craft is completely flat. That can also be a bit of an issue as to why your drone is not responding. And finally, because I'm trying to read between the lines here and cover as many things as I can, if you're saying like I raise the throttle and it's not responding to the throttle, like maybe it's doing some other things, I'm raising the throttle and it's pitching or yawing, you might need to check your channel mapping as well. So make sure, like I mentioned at the start, does my throttle actually correspond to my throttle on the Betaflight receiver tab? And finally, if you think you've got it all correct, but the drone is still wigging out and acting a bit strange, you might have your props or check your props and motor orientation, because the props could be on backwards, the motors could be spinning the incorrect way. All that needs to happen together to be able to get the craft to successfully fly. But for me, it sounds like you need to head over to the Betaflight receiver tab and check, does my receiver work? Is it corresponding? Is my throttle corresponding on that little receiver tab? Because it's not good enough just to say it's bound. You need to double check in Betaflight. But if anybody else has some questions too, and you think of something throughout the week or you're getting stuck, please throw them here in the troubleshooting, and we can check in here each week at the end of the stream to see if we've got some things. That troubleshooting question makes no sense. as it's saying throttle is not responding when disarmed. Yeah, that's why I'm reading between the lines there. As a school teacher, that was my job, to try to sort of figure out what people are saying, but I feel like I've given them enough information to do something. Somebody said in the comments that Australian calls shrimp prawns, but they're not even the same animal. Is that true? Yeah, it's a prawn. We don't call them shrimp right here. And perhaps the arm switch is backwards in beta flight from what yeah, he's got to check it on that. We need to check it in that receiver tab right there. That's the biggest advice. All right. I'm going to say thank you so much for everybody who tuned in. Thank you guys. Like I mentioned, every week, yeah, I'm talking to you. Whatever you're doing, playing dominoes, eating dinner, you might be the one person with this like one earphone or just sort of sitting at the computer, zoning out a little bit, and then you hear me. Yeah, I'm talking to you. You're special. You are valued. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being part of the UAVFutures community. Thank you for being part of the drones community. I got to head downstairs. We're going to be doing a little bit more filming. Huge shout out to those people who sent through some birthday wishes and some birthday super chats. It is very much appreciated. We've got some great stuff coming. I'm going to be here week in, week out. Next Monday, I think we are, I'm 99% sure we are here. However, if it is my youngest daughter's first day of school, we might be like 10 minutes late or something like that, because I'm not gonna miss her heading off to school. All right, other than that, subscribe for more FPV related content, and I will see you all next week.